Welcome to our video bulletin for Friday, the 19th of February. 2 days ago, Ash Wednesday began Lent, and you can still catch our Ash Wednesday service with Bishop Paul online. It was a service for the city, as it always is. And we're now thrown into the observance of Lent in such an unusual way. That doesn't mean to say we can't observe it. And although I've already told you we're not going to do some of our traditional ways of marking Lent through speakers and talks and music, we can do it in different ways. We can do it at home on our own. And of course, we can also do it in smaller study groups. And so you are all warmly invited to join a study group at St. Nick's. We hope that we can get 1 or 2 going, which will meet for 4 weeks during Lent. Please do email Ian, our parish assistant, if you're interested in joining that. We don't want it to be too heavy. We're all fed up with staring at screens, but there's much that we can do on Zoom. We may, of course, be freed from staring at our screens in a little while, and in a couple of days' time, on Monday, we're expecting the government to lay out for us our new roadmap for how we're going to ease the nation's lockdown, and that will undoubtedly have an effect on our worship here in church. So at the moment, church is empty, but we look forward to welcoming everyone back. And we've been talking at church about how we're going to keep the major events of Lent and how we're going to keep Holy Week in a distanced way. For example, it's very difficult for us to have our traditional agape meal as we sit in the upper room in the refectory in church to share a meal together. But maybe we can share food in a different way by all bringing food bank donations. It will be difficult for us to venerate the cross in Good Friday in the normal way, but we can do that without touch and through our reverence. And it will be difficult to keep Holy Saturday in our normal way, but there will be ways in which we can light that fire of Easter, and we can all celebrate Christ's rising from the tomb together. So all we're given is a blank template on which we can impose the creative ways for observing our faith during Lent and Easter. So watch this space, and if you've got any great ideas, please do drop me a line. There's no shortage of things going on at the moment, and we're still planning for next year. If you're getting married this year, then hopefully you've already had a link to our marriage preparation session next Wednesday evening. If not, do email the church office and we'll get that link to you. We can all gather together, do what we normally do, which most of you won't have experienced, as most people only get married the once as the next. But those of you who've been married here before will know we have great fun doing the preparation. Central to that is making the church look fabulous for weddings, and the person who's behind all of that is, of course, Monica, who's been talking to Ian this week.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Congregation video for this week. As you can see, I'm in the beautiful Alexandra room in the basement of the church because I happen to be working from the office today. And I'm here with a really wonderful member of the congregation who is responsible for much of the beauty we see on a Sunday morning, as she, Monica, is responsible for the flowers. So she's a really excellent person to know, and a person who brings a lot of beauty to our life. But today she's got a very special story for us, which is how she got connected to St. Nick's. So Monica, why don't you talk about that for a second?
I hope you've got a hanky ready, because it's a bit sad.
Oh, I'm ready.
The ending's okay. For 20 years previously to arriving in Liverpool, we lived in Cumbria. And we had 2 young children then, and we took them to Cumbria because we wanted to bring them up in the countryside. My husband Ian is a Cumbrian, and he had lots of relatives there. So we were very excited, and we bought a wonderful house next to Carlisle Cathedral. And we took our business, which was a jewellery business, and we had an academy for teaching jewellery to Carlisle. And then the next place we lived in Cumbria was in a beautiful village on the River Eden, and it really was paradise. It was the most wonderful place. And the church was my whole life. Wonderful friends, all the rest of it. I did loads of jobs in the church. I sang in the choir, and I was verger on the PCC, Anyway, but I never did the flowers.
Why not?
They didn't think I was good enough. They used to say, Monica, you're making them look so plonky. Well, I never did find out what plonky meant, but anyway, I didn't do the flowers. And then disaster struck, because in 2001, in Cumbria, a plague of biblical proportions struck the county, and it was a mouth disease. I don't suppose you know anything about that, coming from Chicago.
I heard that it happened, but yeah, that's all I know.
Awful. The smell and sight of the animals in the fields upended, being burnt, was dreadful. And we had a lot of friends in the farming community, and it was their life's work, and seeing their wonderful cattle being burnt was absolutely awful. We had an awful lot of counselling to do. And so we decided, because we'd lost our income as well, because that was tied up with the countryside. So what do? We'd run out of money. We hadn't got any income. Where would we go? Well, my husband Ian was ordained in 1990 in the Liberal Catholic Church. And he was ordained as a non-stipendiary minister. I don't think they call it that now, do they? They call it self-supporting. I think that's horrible. It sounds like a surgical appliance. But anyway, his parish was Liverpool. And we used to come here every month to do services. And our services are all-day services. They're Eucharist and then lunch for the parishioners and a lecture in the afternoon. So we used to come once a month. Anyway, my husband has a philosophy, crisis into creative opportunity. And it's the sort of thing, if you think about what Father Crispin has done with the online services in the pandemic, that's it in action, crisis into creative opportunity. And even olders like me have had to get to grips with technology. And here am I zooming away.
Yeah.
And I thought it about a year ago, we'd ever do such a thing. July the 2nd, 2001, we moved in. And it was a heat wave. And our the poor removal men were so exhausted taking our country furniture up 3 flights of stairs, and they were flaked out, spread-eagled in the front garden.
Oh no!
Like a Bruegel painting, with them all like this. Anyway, the next problem was, where was I going to worship? Now I'm the sort of person that needs people around me. I'm no good walking alone. My husband, Ian, he is a man that walks alone. He doesn't need people so much as me, but I do need people. And so anyway, the obvious thing was living in Hope Street to go to the cathedral, just around the corner. So off we went. Now, it's an exquisite building, an exquisite music, and we loved it. The sacred space is wonderful. And if you've ever had the chance of going to the Advent service from darkness to light, when they turn all the lights out, and you're in that amazing space, it is absolutely magical. But it's not a community when you go and worship there. The people have come from all over, and a lot of them are visitors, and it's not what I was looking for. But my son-in-law, who wasn't my son-in-law then, but he was, my daughter had got engaged, my daughter Catherine, who was the only person I knew that lived in Liverpool. She was one of those students that studied in Liverpool and never left. Quite a lot happens to quite a lot of people. Anyway, my son-in-law had just been ordained, and he was a curate at St Mary's Walton, and he was helping out at St Nick's and the Interregnum after Nicholas Frayling had left. And he said to me, Monica, he said, why don't you come to St Nick's? And so I did. And I've been there 20 years.
Wow.
But I have been allowed to do the flowers.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And they're never plonky either.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, you do know what plonky is, because I don't know what
I haven't a clue.
Well, that was an absolute bonus. So, and I love it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's wonderful.
Well, we're so glad to have you, and we're so glad you found it.
Kind, it's very kind. Nice to be useful, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously. And it really is a lovely community.
It is. It is. I'm glad you like it.
Well, that's probably all the time we have for this week, but thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for speaking with me, Monica.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Well, Lent has been a time when our flower team have often been able to have a few weeks respite before the glorious flowers that they produce for Easter. And as we prepare to worship on Sunday, we're focused on our online worship, but it won't be long before we're getting back together again. And we're already thinking about how Mothering Sunday can be a chance to take flowers out to those who cannot be in church that day. But this Sunday it will be online worship only, and so please do join that worship at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning on our YouTube channel. Whatever you're doing this weekend, please keep safe, keep distance, keep that hand sanitizer flowing, and have a very good weekend.